What's up, She-Hulk fans? I know there are so many of you She-Hulk fans out there, and we're ready to talk to you and talk about She-Hulk episode 6. And we're also going to be talking about Andor episodes 1, 2, and 3. Brian, do you think today, this is my co-host, by the way, Brian, and I'm Pete.
Hi.
Do you think today that I'm going to have some positive things to say about She-Hulk?
Being the fact that you're asking, no.
No, I got a little sick of hearing me just kind of complain or saying that She-Hulk was okay. And so I want to say some positive things about She-Hulk today.
Sure, that sounds good.
Do you have positive things to say about She-Hulk?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, it's
Okay.
It to me, this was kind of more of the same. It's the same kind of middle of the road kind of show. I think it's just slightly our expectations are just off because this is a comedy. It's not. I guess I don't watch that much comedy. I guess the stuff I do is I only watch it when I hear it's like really, really good. So maybe this is just like a sort of middle of the road comedy show, and that's why our expectations are not being met, I guess.
Okay.
But I don't hate the show by any means. There's nothing bad about it. It's just kind of there.
Yeah. I kind of feel the same way. We should point out that we are Comic Books Transformed, and we discuss all the streaming shows and movies that are based on your favorite comic books. And so whenever there is a Marvel streaming show on Disney Plus, that's the one we cover first. So we're going to dive into that, and then we're going to cover Andor. And Brian and I haven't talked about Andor really at all, so I'm very curious to see how he felt about the show. But yeah, I mean, you say it's kind of there, She-Hulk. It's just kind of, in the middle. You don't hate it. You don't think it's amazing. It's a comedy, and I feel the exact same way. I will say some positive things about it though today. But I think before we even get to the positive stuff, we should point out that Daredevil was not in the episode.
Yes. So we should say that the name of the episode was called Just Jen.
Thank you.
It's a self-contained wedding episode at what was the line she said? An inconvenient time.
Oh yeah,
which I believe is a nod to everyone was expecting Daredevil this week.
Yeah, I like the fourth wall breaking. I think there's like maybe 1 to 2 instances of fourth wall breaking per episode. You think I'm right or?
Yeah, 1 or 2, and I think that's a perfect amount.
Yeah. It's usually at the very beginning. It's kind of before they do the little She-Hulk credits.
Yes.
Yeah. So one of the things that I was happy about is that they name drop the Intelligentsia, right? And have you ever read any comics with the Intelligentsia in it?
I have not. That was new to me, but it very much reminded me of in the more recent era, the Krakoa era of X-Men. There's a couple issues of New Mutants where there's like the villain is like a doxing group that doxes the location of Beak's parents. And Beak being from Beak from Grant Morrison's New X-Men.
Yeah.
And that has a very depressing ending, but
it does. Yeah. New Mutants. I remember that issue. Yeah. Because that was when it was like Hickman was writing it, but then also I can't remember the name of the guy. The other guy. It was like Hickman and the other guy. And
yeah, there were alternating weeks for a while, and this was one of the while the main New Mutants team, which is the more classic roster, was out doing stuff in space. There were some side stories that were on taking place on Earth. And this one happened to have Beak, which was a nice callback. Beak and Angel from Grant Morrison's New X-Men.
Yes, and you said they were a doxing group. What? So doxing, what does that mean? It means like you were.
It means they basically say like, hey, this is where this mutant lives, or this is where this mutant supporter lives, and they let so someone goes, someone that hates mutants goes there and harasses them, or in this case, they ultimately ended up dying. Because I think they were they going to ransom them or something? I don't remember the exact details of the story, but I just remember that Beak's parents get killed and they have to, or kind of erase his memory of the whole situation because it was that horrible.
Yeah, I think because I actually read that kind of more recently. I'm so behind on my X-Men stuff. I love how we go off on these random tangents when we're supposed to talk about She-Hulk, but it was that, like, all the pharmaceutical stuff they were making on Krakoa, there were groups that wanted to get the drugs or like the pharmaceuticals to use for humans, and so they were going to hold Beak's family hostage.
Yes, that sounds about right.
Yeah. So, like, that's what the group is like in the She-Hulk show, where they are like exposing things online, or they kind of have like a evil chat room going. But the Intelligentsia in the comics, I've only seen them once, but they had a pretty solid lineup. They're like supposedly the most evil thinkers out there, and the team includes Doctor Doom of all people, MODOK, Mad Thinker, Red Ghost, and the Wizard. And are you kind of familiar with the Wizard because of Fantastic Four?
Yes.
Yeah.
Grateful for.
Yeah, I've been reading. I've been reading a lot of Dan Slott's Fantastic Four run right now, and he also showed up a lot in Hickman's Fantastic Four, so I'm pretty familiar with him.
Yes.
What about the Red Ghost though?
The Red Ghost. He's wait. Is he like an old man looking guy?
Yeah. He's just like
very barely, but yes.
He's like a random character because he's like this old man, kind of looks like the Vulture, but then he's got this like kind of like red fur almost on him, and then he like controls apes. So I don't know where the hell like the Red Ghost name comes. It's really
it's
random.
Funny because I was gonna say he's either an old man or he's something with apes.
He's both.
Yeah.
So the reason why I brought up this whole team is because the leader of the team in the comics is the leader. And that's Samuel Stearns, who is like pretty much like the main Hulk villain. He's like the Green Goblin to the Hulk.
Yeah.
And they are saying that he's going to be in the next Captain America movie, New World Order. You've heard that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And the actor that played... I'm sorry. What did you say? No, the actor that plays him is... shit. I wrote down his name. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. And so he was kind of like a wasted opportunity right there in the original Incredible Hulk movie. They kind of showed him turning into the leader, but then we had never seen him since then.
Yes, that's correct. So yeah, I think that out of this lineup from the comics that you just mentioned here, I think it's pretty likely we'll see him. Even though he is a part of the Captain America 4, I don't believe that he will be the main villain. I think he'll just be some part of it. Right. And maybe this is how it connects. This Intelligentsia group is how it connects to that movie.
Yeah,
but, I mean, we're not getting Doctor Doom here.
No, right.
Maybe you can get the others. MODOK's supposed to be showing up in Ant-Man, Quantumania, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. So, and he looks a bit different. So I'm not sure if we'll get that, but I wouldn't be surprised if this was a group with the leader, the Mad Thinker, the Red Ghost, and maybe the Wizard too. I'm a little undecided on Wizard because of the Fantastic Four ties.
Exactly. My thoughts exactly, my man. Wait, you're saying that MODOK looks different. Have you seen pictures of MODOK from the movie?
There was a leaked image where he looks very robotic.
Okay.
Think like Sam Raimi Green Goblin-ish, but orange and purple.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look this up like when we're done recording.
Yeah, it's a little weird, but whatever. It's MODOK. I mean, I don't know how you'd pull off a giant head like that in a realistic looking way without it being like horrific.
Yes. I mean, I pull off a giant head every time we record a YouTube video. Hopefully it's not too horrific. Apparently I have some really good salad going on here, according to the guy that was a guest on.
Are you listening, Kevin Feige? We have the perfect actor for MODOK.
Perfect MODOK. I wish I had I'm actually in my daughter's bedroom. Hold on. Wait. I got perfect. Look, I got Robin's body right here. This could be my little my arms and my legs. Look, I'm MODOK. All right. It's Friday, everybody. Anyway, so okay, let's just cut to the end credit of this, but we'll talk about the rest of the episode too. But with the Intelligentsia,
I didn't see the end credit. Wait a minute. What was the end credits?
No. There wasn't like a mid-credit scene. I said that wrong. I meant like the very last thing.
Okay. Yes. So yeah, they're showing the lab and they're showing the big crazy needle. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you're assuming that they're going to try to take She-Hulk's blood so that they could make some kind of Hulk person, right?
Yes. And the interesting thing is that isn't that how Red Hulk was made?
Yeah.
Essentially. So I'm wondering. I mean, we all know that William Hurt passed away, which I think I learned on this podcast a couple weeks ago because I just didn't know.
Yes.
So he won't be back, but I'm wondering if that will translate to some other character or something, or that would be part of the plot. It would be interesting to have Red Hulk in the MCU, although I don't know how interesting it will be without it being someone that absolutely just hated the Hulk.
I know.
So,
it's funny because like there's two movies where I could see the Red Hulk showing up. There is Thunderbolts, right?
Yep.
And then there is the Captain America movie that we keep talking about. Do you know which one comes out first out of those two?
I don't. The Thunderbolt movie is definitely the end of Phase 4.
Okay.
But I don't remember where Captain America comes in.
Okay. You see, because like with Thunderbolts or with the Captain America movie, it's like one of those things where I think that if you show a trailer for Captain America 4, you're not going to get a super excited audience. I know that people love Captain America, and I'm assuming Bucky's going to be in it too. And they like the Sam Wilson Captain America. I'm a big fan. That might be my favorite MCU show besides WandaVision. But I feel like if you just show a trailer for that, you're not going to get that, oh shit, kind of excitement. I also kind of feel the same way based on the way that people have been reacting to the Thunderbolts picture of like the team.
Yeah.
That like people are not super excited about that team, even though once again, I really like a lot of those characters. So I think that if you throw in a Red Hulk into either one of those two, that will like up the excitement level.
Okay. So I looked it up here. So New World Order is the 3rd of May in 2024. And then Thunderbolts is July 26th after that, also in 2024. So it's possible that could happen. And I kind of agree with you about Thunderbolts. I think the cast is kind of great, but from an acting standpoint and a character standpoint, but at the same time, someone pointed out, like 90% of the team does the exact same thing.
Exactly.
So,
right.
Having a Red Hulk there would definitely be interesting. Or I mean, heck, maybe that's a villain.
Right. Exactly. So I mean, clearly they're doing something. The fact that those two movies are next to each other, like Captain America 4 and that, I think there's something going on there. I really wonder what the hell the plot of Captain America 4 would be.
Yeah, and one thing I've seen thrown about, and I hope it's not, is I hope it's nothing to do with Secret Empire.
Yeah. Believe me, I've thought about that too, because that's the main time when like the Sam Wilson Cap is around, like leading up to that. Yeah. Well, we'll see. But let's get back to She-Hulk. So, there's one line I wanted to put in here too, which is that like the intelligentsia in the comics is like made up of all these super intelligent villains, and like including Dr. Doom and the Leader, and they're kind of like the response to like the Illuminati, which we've seen now in Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness. But there is actually a Marvel Comics anti-Illuminati, and they're called the Cabal, and Doctor Doom's on that team too. So
yes,
they
were big in God, what was that storyline? when Norman Osborn was running Hammer and all that stuff. Dark Reign.
Yeah, and that team, it's just kind of fun. I love talking about this shit with you, but like that team, had Emma Frost, and I think Loki, the female Loki, was on that team.
Yeah,
and then and they could actually like throw a female Loki from the MCU onto this if they actually want to make their own version of that team. And besides Doctor Doom and the female Loki, that team also had the Hood, and the Hood is going to be the main guy of the Ironheart, the main villain of the Ironheart show.
Yes.
So there's a lot of interesting stuff that they can play with. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And then while we're on it, since we're just doing tangents, we want to tell everybody what you thought about that Ironheart design from.
Oh yeah, so there's an Ironheart design that leaked for Wakanda Forever from the Marvel Legends figure, and to me it looks very Transformer-like, which is great for us because look behind me, and also because Hasbro has the toy license right for both Marvel and Transformers. I thought the overall design, especially like the legs and the backpack, looked very much like RC. And some of the face almost reminded me a lot of Nightbird, which is often repainted from RC, which is like a real obscure one-off character. from the original cartoon that has made some rare appearances elsewhere, but has a
Yeah.
decent number of toys out these days.
Yeah. I actually really dug the design, and it's cool because like I can't believe they're actually up to Riri, but they showed Riri right in that trailer for Wakanda Forever. So
Yes.
she's
Yeah.
coming, man.
Very
Ironheart's coming.
quickly, but yes, she was in there.
Yeah, and they even showed like a heart symbol like on the floor
Yeah.
at one point too. Yeah.
Yep.
So okay. Hey, we should actually talk about She-Hulk.
Whose show is this again?
right.
Isn't that actually? I think that's actually the name of the last episode.
Is it really?
I think it is.
Holy shit. Okay, that's awesome. So, okay. With She-Hulk, the episode's called Just Jen, and she goes to her friend's wedding. And she shows up right away as She-Hulk, ready to, wow all of her friends and be impressive. But then her friend Lulu, who is getting married, says, "Can you just be Jen?" And so Tatiana Maslany is Jen Walters for the majority of the episode.
Yes.
Did you like the wedding hijinks?
It was okay, I guess. I enjoyed when Titania showed up. And she's like, "No, I'm not gonna do anything, or anything like that." I think there's some seeding going on with what was the guy she was talking to? His name Josh.
Yeah.
I was very perplexed by Josh. Not perplexed. I was very focused on Josh because he doesn't really say why he's there.
Yeah.
He kind of dodges the question, and they also never showed the groom. So I was wondering if either A, he's somehow involved, he's either the groom in the wedding or something like that, or related to something. He's gonna be related to something that Jen messes up, in her personal life, or he's part of this intelligentsia plot somehow. But the other angle is, so one of the guys that She-Hulk went on one of the dates with, he's an actor named John Bass. He's a comedic actor. I think I mainly know him from a TBS show called Miracle Workers that has Daniel Radcliffe in it.
Oh yeah, Steve Buscemi too, right?
And Steve Buscemi, yes, they're both fantastic in it. Especially the first season and the third season were pretty good. I didn't like the second season that much.
Okay.
Anyway, I think that either Josh or Todd or both are involved with intelligentsia somehow, which is making me also question whether the leader and those other comic characters, are involved or not. We did see Todd show up at the end of an episode, and he mentions he's a client of, I believe it's what's the other lawyer's name? Is it Megan Meredith?
Oh, I should know this. I'm sorry, I didn't write it down.
It's something book.
Okay.
But yeah. So
the one who was the focus of the B plot today.
Yes, that lawyer, yes.
Yeah.
So I think that either Josh or Todd have a very strong connection to intelligentsia.
Okay. Yeah, because like when they did show the syringe at the end of the episode where they were gonna like potentially draw She-Hulk's blood, they didn't show anyone's face or anything like that. So that's a good sign that someone is like a sleeper agent or something like that.
Yeah.
So I actually felt the same way too. I liked their flirting between the two of them. We mentioned at the very beginning, you were talking about how it's a comedy and that's maybe how our needs are not getting fulfilled. But like as per usual, I would say that I feel like the jokes, most of them did not land. One joke I did appreciate from the wedding part was when you finally see who the groomsman they're pairing up with Jen is. It's like this old dog, like I like that.
Yeah.
He
had to resuscitate him this morning. I got a little laugh out of that.
Right. That was funny. And then I liked Titania being at the wedding, but I particularly liked when Jen was like vomiting, outside, and then Titania just clocked her. It was good to see like a battle between the two at the wedding too.
Yeah, and it was also interesting to see that Jen had trouble transforming into She-Hulk. I feel like that's going to come up later on in some fight.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of
confident about it in the first place. It only makes sense that confidence was going to be tested later on.
Yeah. Like that's what I was saying when we first started reviewing the show, that I wanted to see scenes like that where
Yeah.
like she feels like she's got it in the bag, but oh wait. So yeah, that is promising too. That kind of stuff that reminded me of just Hulk in Infinity War too, like Bruce trying to turn into Hulk.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. Was there anything else that you wanted to say about She-Hulk?
I mean, we didn't really talk about the B plot at all. I figured
Oh.
it's semi-important to mention that it featured Mr. Immortal. It was kind of a funny idea for a plot. I mean, I don't necessarily think it worked amazingly or anything like that, but it's Mr. Immortal is an actual character from the Marvel Comics. He's from the Great Lakes Avengers.
Yeah.
And he is a mutant.
Oh,
although they did not
okay.
call that out in the episode of any kind, but we're slowly inching closer.
Yes. You know what? That actually brings up an interesting point. I don't know if you and I have ever discussed this, but they're not allowed to show any X-Men or like specific X-Men that we've seen until 2025. Have you heard that?
I've heard that rumor. I do not know if it's true or not, but I think it would. I mean, it certainly would make sense. But I don't know if we even could get a confirmation if that's true. Like that doesn't seem like it's would ever happen. So maybe it'll just time out that way. But hopefully we don't have to wait that long.
Yeah. Because like Mr. Sunday, I was watching a video where he was talking about Marvel characters that they can't show in the MCU, and he said that whole point, which was like actors have contracts that are up into 2025, and so they can't have those characters like played by another person until after that. So
and did he explain how they got around Professor X?
So the idea is that like Marvel is trying to like recast these characters, but they can't until 2025.
Oh, they can't. Okay, that's right. That's right. Yes. Okay.
So
I think we even touched upon that in the Doctor Strange review. That's right.
Yeah. Which then that makes a lot of sense, right? Because if they go into Secret Wars and it's this whole idea of like all these different multiversal versions of characters, then you can have those Fox actors, like you can have, fucking Hottie McHotpants as Magneto, who's he's like one of my favorite. Yeah. Like you can have him being Magneto and James McAvoy as Professor X, and one of the lame Cyclopses they had from those movies.
I didn't mind Ty Sheridan as Cyclops.
I mean,
okay? You know what? I like James Marsden too. They just didn't use him for anything.
Right. Okay. Yeah, he is good. He has some good interactions with Wolverine in that first movie. That's for sure.
And then he's just not in the other two.
Yeah. He gets killed in the third one. It's real lame.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's cool. I once again, I didn't think that Mr. Immortal part was funny really at all. There's a whole bunch of jokes in that section. Actually, I even thought one joke was kind of in poor taste, where like they're arguing and then he just jumps out the window. I was like, okay, he's just committing suicide. That's
a little bit,
yeah. But so that's pretty much it. So then you're good with She-Hulk then, right?
Yep. Until next week.
All right. So now let's talk about what everyone is excited to talk about. The episodes 1 through 3 of Andor.
Okay. So first thing off the bat, I have to say, Disney, stop giving me chunks at the beginning. If you're gonna go week to week, maybe give me 2. Okay, 3 on Wednesday. No. I mean, we're recording this on a Friday, which is great. But if I had to cram 3 shows in a day, come on.
What is this? Netflix? Come on.
Yeah.
Well, from what I heard, I don't know if you knew this, but like the way the show works is that every 3 episodes is essentially like one arc for the show. Did you know that?
Oh, no, I didn't know that. I had heard something about there's a planned timeline of episodes where it's like 24, 25 episodes total, and that's it.
Yeah.
So
it's like 2 seasons, and it is going like, because you saw this episode, the very first one is like 5 years before the Battle of Yavin. And so it's like they're going to go like pretty much from then all the way up to Rogue One, I think. And so it's like just going through his life and going through months of his experience.
Yeah.
Like the rise of the rebellion.
2 gives us some K2SO.
Yes. But I heard somewhere that K2SO is not showing up until season 2.
Yeah, that's I heard something similarly, and I hope that does happen. I mean, I understand he's not there yet. That's fine, but it would be a tragedy not to have, to have the opportunity to have more of him and then not actually have him.
Yes. We're not getting that usual two-dick pleasure, that we could be getting. So definitely got to bring Alan Tudyk in there. And that we're saying that as fans of Doom Patrol. By the way, did you see? I don't know if you responded to me on Twitter. I sent you a picture from Doom Patrol.
Yes, they cast Madeline Zima as Space Case, Casey Brink from the more recent incarnations of Doom Patrol, written by Gerard Way, who I just saw in concert 2 nights ago.
I'm so jealous. Was it good?
Yeah, it was really good. I'm still not like a huge fan, but I love the Black Parade album so much. And the other stuff is good too, but like usually like I'm like a ridiculous mega fan of whoever I'm going to see, actually go out and see. But this time I was definitely didn't know as many words as I normally do.
Yeah, you got to do the thing. I know you do it too, but like you look up the set list of the band and then just like listen to the songs.
Well, that's the cool thing is that they've been changing up the set list a lot, show to show, and they this was almost the exception of like maybe 5 or 6 like major songs. It was like a almost totally different set list from the previous night, which is also in the same venue.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's different. Yeah. I'm jealous, just for fans of like Doom Patrol and Gerard Way and also Umbrella Academy. We've talked about all of those things on our show. He also wrote a comic called The Fabulous Killjoys. I might have mentioned that. But that was like a whole concept album that My Chemical Romance did.
Yes, yeah.
And Grant Morrison is in a music video for one of their songs on that album.
Yes, too. That's right. I believe that was oh god, which one? I don't remember which song it was.
Yeah. Man, we just go on tangents, don't we?
Yeah. I had to go back a little bit too with the tangent too, because we mentioned Alan Tudyk. I can't not mention that Alan Tudyk is the new voice of Optimus Prime in the new Transformers cartoon.
Oh yeah. I was going to ask you that too, like just on our Twitter and shit. Like, was there a reason why we're not going to cover that? Because I was thinking that should be something we should cover.
Because it's on Paramount Plus, and I don't know if I want to pay for another service.
Oh, maybe somehow you'll get access to it.
Okay. Maybe I can find some way.
I think there's a little bit of a delay. Like actually, on your side of the screen, it keeps like freezing when you talk. Like your voice is coming in fine, but like it keeps freezing. So I don't know if you saw my wink, but
I did. Yes.
Okay, nice and awkward. And then now you guys who are listening to our podcast, you know that I just winked too. But you should check out our YouTube video of this because you could have seen me as MODOK. Okay. Anyway, fucking Andor. Let's get back to Andor. So one of my favorite things about this show is that it is a super serious show about people trying to survive under this oppressive government, and they are just figuring out ways to how to get away from this government. And it's like Darth Vader is in this universe too. Like that just blows my mind.
Yes. This very much feels like a premium network, or premium cable show.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more about people's lives and their existence rather than the flashy fanfare of and fantasy of typical Star Wars.
Yes. And I am so grateful for that. I actually really miss just straight up serious sci-fi. I was getting kind of vibes. It kind of reminded me of like that Tom Cruise movie Oblivion. Have you seen that one?
I don't think so. No.
Okay, it's like this one where it's after an alien invasion and he's like one of the sole survivors and he has like a white suit on. It's directed by the guy,
but I don't think I saw it.
Yeah, the guy that did Tron Legacy and also did Top Gun Maverick. He did that too.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, it kind of reminded me of that, and then like Blade Runner 2049, but not like as kind of creative or dark as that, or visually as interesting as that. But I just like that sort of serious sci-fi, and I really, really like the fact that it's not like, oh, here's this bounty hunter from Empire Strikes Back. Like, I was really glad that we weren't like just tripping over Easter eggs,
Yes, I don't think I noticed any Easter eggs at all.
Right.
So yeah, it's interesting to be to watch something that you're familiar with, but yet know nothing about. Like, I feel like a similar experience watching this as I feel as I'm also watching House of the Dragon, and I read all the Thrones books that have been released, but except I never read Fire and Blood because it was like a historical recounting of some sorts. So
Mhm.
I have no clue what the hell's going to happen at all. And
Good.
it's refreshing that I know the property very well, but I just have absolutely no idea what's going to happen. I guess in
Yeah.
this we do ultimately know what's going to happen to these characters, but for the most part, I'm still I'm enjoying not knowing anything.
Yeah, but you bring up a good point. Like, we know what's going to happen to Cassian Andor, but pretty much like every other character that's introduced on the show, we don't know if they're going to die or like
True.
join the rebellion, right? Like,
Yeah.
even his mom, his adopted mom, it's like, who is she going to live? Is she going to die? It's all up in the air. Like, I'm sure that a lot of these good guy characters are going to die because I do feel like this is a very serious, somber show. And
Yeah.
so, and that just kind of goes along with the way that Rogue One felt too. So
Yeah,
we are
absolutely.
probably going to lose a lot of these characters. But I think we should talk about like the behind the scenes stuff real quick too. So the showrunner is Tony Gilroy, who I think he might have written every single episode. He wrote the original 3 Bourne movies, and then he also directed Bourne Legacy. That's the one with Jeremy Renner. And then he co-wrote Rogue One, and he also wrote and directed Michael Clayton. Have you seen that one with George Clooney?
I have not.
Yeah. I don't think I actually have seen it either, but I've seen parts of it, and Sherry really loves it. It's a good serious movie,
Okay. I actually haven't seen any of the Bourne movies either.
What?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, why not? Like, they don't appeal to you?
I don't know. Maybe, you know what? Maybe I have a. Maybe I'm just not into like the whole spy genre because I've only seen the only Bond movie I've ever seen is GoldenEye. The only Mission Impossible movie I ever saw was whatever one was showing the first 10 minutes of Dark Knight Rises in front of it.
That was, I think that was Ghost Protocol. I think it was called
3 or 4. I don't know if it was 3 or 4. Maybe it was
the
4.
fourth one. The fourth one.
But yeah, so maybe that's like just the thing I don't go see.
Holy shit! I feel kind of awkward talking to you now. Oh man, you just opened up a can of worms there. Okay. Well, let's not go off on a tangent on that, but that you just kind of blew my mind, dear. Okay. Well, regardless of if you've seen the Bourne movies or not, I think they're very well done, and the first one is very good. The second one's actually very good too. The fact that this guy wrote them is great. But like it just has that kind of feeling of it actually feels like the Bourne movies because it's just sort of like trying to duck away from the authorities, pull things off, kind of be inconspicuous and not get caught. And the other part of the behind the scenes is that we have like some great actors in it. Diego Luna, I thought he was really good in Rogue One. And then we have Stellan Skarsgård, who, like, once he came on the show, I felt like that just elevated the whole thing. I'm a big Stellan Skarsgård fan.
Yeah, his character is very interesting. Yes.
Yeah. And then, have you seen anything with Fiona Shaw? Have you seen the Harry Potter movies?
Yeah, I've seen Harry Potter movies. Yes.
Okay. So she's like the Dursley. She's like his aunt or whatever in that.
Okay.
And then she was this head of the coven in like one of the worst seasons of True Blood, like when True Blood started to go down the hill, the tubes. And then she was fucking incredible on this show called Killing Eve, Fiona Shaw. And so she plays his like adoptive mom, Marva Andor. So yes. I really like the cast a lot. Is there any particular character that like stood out to you, like Cassian or villain?
Yes, I think I'm interested in his friend Bix, and also the guy, not the main bad guy of the God, I can't even remember what the more.
Yeah, they're like that corporation security. They're like a security corporation.
He's got like an accent, and he's like the second in command guy. I kind of like him too.
Yeah. They're called the Pre-More Authority, and they're a corporation that works for the Empire. The main guy is Cyril Karn. He's played by Kyle Soller, right? And then the guy that you like, is let's see if I have his name on here. That Scottish guy. He let's see.
I did write his name down.
Okay, Sergeant Linus Most. He's played by a Scottish actor, and he's the first character to ever say shit in a Star Wars anything.
I don't think I even noticed that.
Yeah. He goes like shit in the third episode. Yeah.
You know, I was also wondering too, going back to Bix, there's a point where she goes to visit like her boyfriend or whatever. And I think like, was that the first time there's been like implied sex in Star Wars as well?
Okay. I'm really glad that you asked that because, I don't think it's the first time it's implied sex like in the movies. I don't think there's ever an implication of sex besides the fact that like Anakin and Padme have kids.
Yeah.
But I don't think in any of the movies there's ever a thing. Oh well, I think
I mean maybe this is kind of like brothely like places that I mean even in the beginning of this there was too, but like they seems like that might be something they would have somewhere. You know, obviously they have like dancers going all over the place, you know. But like it felt like wait a minute, is this like actual like sex in a Star Wars show?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like when you think about like Jabba's barge and the fact that like Leia's like his slave and he's sticking on his tongue, there's some kind of pervy stuff going on there. But yeah, that was a point on Twitter today too. Was you know, like, oh, is this the first time with sex? And then someone showed this like panel from a Clone Wars comic that showed like Anakin and Padme like hugging, and then it had like their bedroom window, and then the light went off. It's like, oh, they're having sex, and it's funny because like the comic was drawn like that guy that draws Samurai Jack. You know, like
yes, yeah.
You know, it's like okay, they're having sex. The Samurai Jack people are having sex, but yeah. The show was obviously an adult kind of show, and I don't think that like little kids should really watch it.
No, I'm probably not going to show this to Brandon this time. I don't think he's even aware that it's on, but he hasn't watched anything at all since he bounced out of the 4th episode of She-Hulk. So,
oh, yeah. Well, you know, you got the Transformers show you can watch with him.
Yeah,
if you get access to Paramount Plus. So anyway, let's see what we got. We did the behind the scenes stuff. So I actually really liked that they have like a corporation that they're doing the security for this planet. And so this main villain is going after Cassian because he feels like, hey, we can't just let this slide. We have to find this guy. And I really like that they went with this corporate security versus like the Empire because, you know, we've just seen stormtroopers forever, right?
Yeah.
So it's good to see like another group.
Yeah, no, it's nice because it's a little different. You know, this guy, I mean, his superior is kind of stepping away momentarily, and it's funny that he's kind of like his superior, whose name I don't remember, the older guy. He basically said like, oh, they probably just ran into the wrong guy in a fight, and they just pissed off the wrong guy, and they got killed, which is exactly what happened. You know,
right.
This guy, he's just trying to prove himself. He's a little unsure of himself, but he's very by the book. And he just doesn't want to let this slide. And you can see his inexperience throughout the events of these 3 episodes there. Like you can tell he's never really been in a fight or hasn't been in danger too many times in his life. Probably he's mainly sitting behind a desk and he's just trying to rise to the ranks and prove himself. I have a feeling that that's going to backfire on him because he got some people killed. He didn't catch anybody and, you know, he's no closer to this. I mean, I guess he's closer to solving the murders because I think they did pretty much figure out it was Andor that killed him. So
yeah,
I mean, that going for him.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right that it is going to backfire. I think that like he is maybe going to rise to power a little bit, and I think that like you eventually rise to power, and then you do kind of come in contact with the regular Star Wars stuff that we know, like. He'll come in contact with some stormtroopers or maybe even Darth Vader. I mean, anything is on the table where you could run into the Emperor, you know, at this point too.
Yeah.
I mean, this dude's not going to run into the Emperor, but like it's that time period. And so, and I have to also give a little shout out. A lot of the information I got for this was from Star Wars Explained. And he even kind of made that note of like, you could run into the Emperor. The guy that Tony Gilroy, who is the showrunner, he said that he didn't want to throw in Easter eggs or throw in cameos just randomly. He wants it to be purposeful for the story. And the metaphor he used is the cameos are all protein and not icing. And I kind of like that metaphor.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. When they did the flashbacks to his homeworld, right, which was
Kenari.
Kenari, right. Did they have captions for when the people talked?
No.
Okay.
I hate that.
I
also get it. I get it, especially for a scenario like this where it's a language that doesn't exist. So you really have to flesh out this language just so you can write down on closed captioning for people. No.
Right.
It's more annoying to me when it's like a real language that's, that is spoken in the actual real world, and they just decide to say, "Oh, speaks in Chinese" or whatever.
Yeah. I agree. So obviously it's like a world where things aren't as advanced. They have kind of like more kind of tribal way of thinking. But I think that the implication is maybe that all the adults are dead. Did you get that idea?
Yes, it did seem there were a lot of children there. I don't think I saw any adults. Yeah, you're right. It's a good point. Like maybe it's like a Lord of the Flies kind of scenario.
Right, because like the way that they described the planet, because they talked about Kenari at one point in one of these episodes where they said it's like, oh, it was an imperial disaster. I think that he's probably going to go back to Kenari because when that ship crashes on the planet, it's a Republic ship. And so, I'm assuming that the Empire is going to take over that planet and he's going to eventually come back to the planet a little bit older because they implied that like the planet itself was ravaged by the Empire.
Yeah, I think they said it was ravaged by like a mining accident or something.
Right.
Yeah, and then the whole crux of the show is so far is that he's looking for his sister that he was separated from in this flashback where he went off on this little excursion to this downed it's something I think it's not a rebel ship, a Republic ship. Yeah. And where he then one of his friends gets kind of shot, and then he kind of goes into the ship and he kind of takes it out his frustrations, which is where he runs into Marva.
Yeah. And I was happy to see like her in the flashback and stuff too, because that actress, Fiona Shaw, she's not as old as she is in the present day of the show. Like she's younger, that she's kind of playing an older character there. And so, she's like younger and more feisty. So I was happy to see her as like this sort of like, I guess, scavenger or something like that. And it's kind of funny because like throughout Star Wars, scavenger culture is like a really big thing, in all three trilogies of Star Wars, like being a scavenger of some kind, like getting technology to survive is a big deal. It kind of is with like Luke on Tatooine, and then it happens with Rey and even like Anakin too. It's always about like getting the junk from other planets.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I also really liked in terms of Marva that they're showing kind of. I know you said that she's not as old as she is in real life as in the present in the show, but it is an older female character, which you don't see too much in more of those adventurous roles. So I think that's nice. That's a nice look in general, just to have some variety in character types.
Exactly. And she's just a perfect pick for an actress. There's one part where these corporate security guys have gone to her house and they're looking for Cassian, and they've like messed up her house, and they're starting to go throughout the whole town, and the townspeople are like making that kind of clanging noise on all the pipes and all the metal. And she has this one speech about how like that noise is to mess up invaders or mess up the people that are coming to get them. And it's like when the noise stops. I really liked that part a lot.
Yes. It's they had a lot of this is a lot of characters in this show that are just like regular people.
Yeah.
You also there was Andor's friend who's you came up with the cover story with. Another scavenger there. There's just a lot of people here, and there's lots of you feel that this is like real life.
Yes.
And we can't go through this without talking about the lack of the volume. Clearly, there is CG in the show and some CG backgrounds because you can't build everything in real life. But the show just looks beautiful. even though it's dark and gritty and dirty, it's just beautiful looking because it's real sets and just it looks better to me. I guess I don't know.
Oh, it's totally got that lived-in feel that Star Wars people always would point out about Star Wars. That it's got that lived-in feel. Like, those workers go to work and they have all their long gloves on the wall, and they get their gloves and they do their shift, and it just kind of feels like that sort of industrial era kind of snapshot from our own history. And then, like, there's that one sequence which was one of my favorite sequences in all 3 episodes, where like Cassian and Stellan Skarsgård's character are in this like sort of factory area that has all these chained pieces of metal, these chain chunks of metal, and just that set design. I was like, wow, they must have built this set, because this is like a really cool set piece,
Yeah, and it was a very cool action scene too. I mean, I was assuming those were like engines of some kind, but maybe I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's all the engines falling down, and in the fight with the Moors and Pre-Moors. Yeah, it was just a very different feeling show that I think we've seen on these shows so far.
Yeah, it certainly feels different from all the Disney Plus Star Wars shows. I absolutely agree with you. Like, there's kind of little bits of The Mandalorian that feel like this. The Book of Boba Fett didn't feel like this as much, but there's little parts of The Mandalorian that kind of reminded me of this show. But that particular set, go ahead.
I was going to say that The Mandalorian kind of felt like that more cartoony kind of Star Wars from the original trilogy, I guess. You see all these funny aliens running around and stuff, but it's still meant to be serious and all that. Like I said, this feels like a premium cable TV show that just happens to also be Star Wars.
Yeah, and I'm really glad he brought up the aliens too, because that was one of the things that they made a point of with the sequel trilogy, and then I guess with The Mandalorian too, is to have that sort of practical alien effect. And you have that one guy in the first episode that's like friends with some guy that needs money from Cassian, and so he's this big hulking brute, and he looked cool. I don't think he was CG. And then you had that like the little person that was in an alien costume, and there was a guy that like Cassian needed to go on like a raid with or something, and so there's this little alien kind of pacing back and forth, and I love little details like that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to that set piece though with the engines, because 2 things. One is that it reminded me very much of this scene in the original Alien when I can't remember the guy's name. Harry Dean Stanton's character, he's the first one to get killed by like the full-sized alien. Yeah, and it looked a lot like that room that he was in when he got killed. There's even chains in that room and stuff too.
Yes, I remember saying, was it pitch meetings or honest trail? Like, oh, there's just chains in space.
Right. Yeah.
Why are they there? But, yeah. I can totally see that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that reminded me of that, and then it was sort of a creative sequence, because you have all these little engine parts just like slamming into the ground. It's very dangerous, and I feel like there hasn't been like sort of an imaginative set piece like that on any of these shows in a while too.
Yeah, I think there have been big set pieces, action set pieces, but this one felt a little different because it like you haven't seen something like that, I guess. It kind of reminded me of almost like maybe a garage or like a butcher shop or something like that, with things that are just hanging around there, almost like Predator 2. There's that fight in the butcher area.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of that in a way too. Just dark, just a dark room, bunch of crap going on, and yeah, it was very, very unique looking, and I liked it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad he brought, because then we're referencing Predator 2 and Alien. That's great right there. But like one difference between this, because essentially there's only been 3 shows, right? I mean, I know there's like the Bad Batch, but we're not talking animated, we're talking live action. So we have 2 seasons of The Mandalorian and then 1 season of Book of Boba Fett. And the Mandalorian characters, whether it's Boba Fett or Mando, they kind of seem more like superheroes than like regular people. And in a lot of Star Wars, there's Jedi and there's these, kind of larger than life characters. And this show has pretty much all just been regular people. The bad guys are regular people. The good guys are regular people. And that's the refreshing part is that like they could just get shot and they don't have armor that it's going to bounce off of, or you know what I'm saying? They're not going to fly up in the air with a flamethrower, you know?
Yeah, I mean, someone does get shot, in the chaos of, when they're banging those metal things to alert people. Bix's boyfriend just comes running towards the Primors and gets shot. One blast, out.
Yeah.
And it was traumatic to see that. I mean, so many times you just see someone get shot and then that's just it. They just fall down.
Yeah.
That's it. Nothing else about it. But this was like someone was like it was a tragic scene and he was really affected by it. And you don't really see that aftermath in Star Wars too much.
Very, very good points. Yeah. He sort of kind of had it coming because he betrayed Cassian and Bix. He let the authorities know, like they were looking for Cassian and like, oh, or they were looking for a Kenari person. And he's like, this guy's a Kenari. But his death is very similar to the death in the first episode when Cassian is fighting with those two guys and he kills the one guy. You have a dead person lying on the ground with their eyes wide open and their body still. And just when that guy died too, Bix's boyfriend, he's laying there with his eyes wide open too. And that just is a much more realistic thing than what we often see in Star Wars. Where
even that officer there, he was the one that was assaulting Cassian at first, and then he sees his friend dead, and he just completely changes his tune and starts begging for his life.
Yeah.
And then Cassian murders him in cold blood.
Yes, just like he shoots that one guy in the very beginning of Rogue One.
Yeah.
So I think that he's going to be very much influenced by Stellan Skarsgård's character. I got to look up his name while we're talking, but like Stellan Skarsgård, I said this in our notes. He is like one of my favorites just because like some of his facial expressions, like sometimes he doesn't even have to say anything, but kind of what he does with his eyes says a lot, right? Or like what he does kind of with his face. He's got this kind of snarling face often. He was, he's in a lot of movies. He's in the MCU. He was the Baron in Dune, and he really does a great job playing sort of a kind of craggy, cold kind of character. And I think his voice,
Luthen Real.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think his voice and his demeanor just they all go so well to kind of play this sort of cold character. And one of my favorite parts was when they had the Primor guy, Cyril Karn, and Cassian's pointing a gun at him, and he's trying to get information out of him, and Luthen is just like, just shoot him, kill him,
Yeah. I also really liked his speech when from that battle in that action set piece, where Cassian's trying to like, oh, but we left the magic box that does all these magic things. He's like, I'm not really here for that. I'm here for someone who wants to make a difference, that has some skills. I'd rather save that than this piece of equipment. I just thought it was a refreshing take on recruitment for a rebellion.
Yes. And we kind of get, it's almost like Cassian's sort of origin, or like, this is what this character is about, because he has a little speech right before that moment where he says, Luthen asks him, how did you get this box? And he says, they just don't expect you to just walk right in and go to take it. They don't expect you to come into their fortress and spit in their food and do all these other things. And he's talking about sort of the arrogance of the Imperials. And we see Imperial arrogance throughout all the movies and these shows. And so I really like that that's sort of a dynamic of his character, because he is essentially like a spy in Rogue One. And so we're just kind of building him up to that.
Yeah, I agree.
But you're probably going to have to turn off the show by then because you don't watch spy things.
Oh, shit. You're right. Oh, well, have fun reading the rest of the show by yourself. I'll see you in. I'll be here for She-Hulk. I'll just dip out.
Perfect. So, listen, did you have anything else you want to say about these first 3 episodes?
No, I guess just again to reiterate what I said prior to watching the show. I never thought I'd be excited for this, but I am. I'm intrigued. I think its existence is justified, and I'm excited to see what comes next. And like usual lately, the thing we review second is usually the more interesting thing.
I know. I always wonder about that. It's like, are people really wanting to see our second thing more than our first thing? And it's like, I always think, should we change it up? Yeah, I agree. But what's also interesting is that we write all these detailed notes before our show, and I don't really like just go bullet point by bullet point, but we end up covering like pretty much all the things on my notes too.
Yeah, I usually have it up on the second screen just to reference, and I refresh my memory to read it right before we start, just so I can remember to bring up things and add my own thoughts in there.
Yeah.
And someday I'll probably attempt to write my own notes again too.
Yeah. But you know what, man, you always bring up really good points. I really appreciate it. So
Thank you.
You know, this show, it was like a great breath of fresh air for Star Wars media, and then also just the stuff they put out on Disney Plus. It's just like you said it multiple times. It felt like a premium cable show, a sci-fi show, and we really do not have a lot of that. And I know probably fans of like The Expanse and stuff are probably like, "You dicks, that's a great show," but like
I watched the first season of that, and I never went back after that. Not that
how many seasons of that show are there?
There was a lot more. There was like 5 or 6, I think.
Yeah.
That eventually moved to Amazon. But it wasn't for a lack of me not like it. You know, I liked the show when I watched it. It's just too many things building up to watch, and especially now, it's like I feel like everything I watch is like superhero related or Star Wars related or something.
Right.
But I'm trying to watch other stuff again too.
Well, that brings up a good point, though. Let's toss this out to our audience too. I know you guys that are watching it. Can you let us know? Brian and I are discussing what we're going to watch as we wait for the next MCU show and the next Star Wars show. While Andor's going on and She-Hulk is over, we were talking about maybe watching Lock and Key and maybe covering the most recent season. But if you guys have another suggestion of stuff that fits this channel, let us know. And if you guys haven't subscribed to the channel too at this point, please do. And I mean, we love when you guys comment and stuff like that. So we want you guys to participate as well. But if you made it all the way to this part, thank you so much. And so I guess me and Brian, then we'll see you guys next week. Nice. Okay. See, I'm going to awkwardly. There we go. Okay.